Welcome back to a new episode where we're going to be exploring Blue Ocean Strategy by W. Chan Kim and Renee Mauborn.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It is a good one, and you've shared some excerpts from it with me.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're looking for some strategies to maybe shake things up a bit.
Yeah, I think I'm really interested in this idea of untapped opportunities.
hmm
And I think that's where my head's at right now.
Yeah, and I think that's really what this book is all about. And
Yeah.
so our mission today is going to unpack some of those insights
Yeah.
and see how they apply to your world.
Perfect.
So let's just start with the basics.
Okay.
The book really focuses on this core distinction between what they call
Uh-huh.
red oceans and blue oceans.
Right. Yeah, the red ocean being the bloodbath of, just cutthroat competition.
Yeah.
Or very small margins.
The existing market space where everybody's fighting for a tiny little slice of the pie,
That's right.
and that leads to shrinking profits, diminishing returns.
Yeah, a race to the bottom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the blue ocean strategy is really about flipping that script entirely and saying, instead of competing in that existing space, how can we create new market space where the competition becomes irrelevant?
Right.
So how do we find these blue oceans?
Well, they actually lay out 6 paths to help reconstruct market boundaries.
Okay.
And I think that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
And the one that really jumped out at me is looking across alternative industries.
I like this one.
Yeah.
It's this idea that customers make choices between solutions, not necessarily products or services within the same industry.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So like in the book, they talk about a night out could be a movie, a concert,
Right.
a spa treatment, or even just staying in with a good book,
A massage.
a massage. All these things are vying for the same slice of our leisure time
And budget.
and budget. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of just thinking about your direct competitors, this path encourages you to zoom out and see who else is vying for that customer's attention.
That's right.
What needs are they fulfilling?
Yeah. That's a really good way to put it.
What are they doing well?
Yeah,
And what are they not doing well? Because that's where the opportunity lies.
exactly. I mean, it reminds me of Cirque du Soleil.
Oh, yeah.
They completely redefined what a circus could be.
Yeah, it's not just about creating something new from scratch. It's about reimagining existing elements to unlock new value.
Yeah, they borrowed elements from theater and dance opera, even rock concerts.
Right, and they got rid of the animal acts, which were becoming increasingly controversial.
Yes, very smart.
And they created this whole new entertainment experience that appealed to a much broader audience.
Yeah.
Another path that kind of goes along with this idea of looking beyond your immediate field is looking across strategic groups within industries.
Yeah, and I think this one's all about understanding the different levels of value offered within the same market and why customers choose one over the other.
Like the automotive industry. You've got budget-friendly cars, you've got luxury vehicles,
Yeah.
you've got SUVs, electric vehicles, each catering to a specific type of customer and need.
Yeah, for sure. And the example in the book uses Curves gyms,
Oh, yeah.
which really disrupted the fitness industry. They realized that traditional gyms were intimidating and expensive for a lot of women.
Right. So they stripped away all those unnecessary elements like fancy equipment and classes, focused on a simple, supportive environment, quick, effective workouts.
And they targeted specifically women who wanted to get in shape but weren't interested in the whole hardcore gym scene.
And that approach led to rapid growth,
Huge.
proving that sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
It's about focusing on what truly matters to your target audience.
Absolutely. And creating a value proposition that really resonates with them, even if it means breaking away from industry norms.
Right.
I think that's the key takeaway here is challenging assumptions about how things should be done.
These first two paths really highlight the importance of perspective. It's about seeing your business, your industry, your challenges through a different lens.
And that shift in perspective can really be the key to unlocking those blue ocean opportunities that are often hidden in plain sight.
Now, while these paths provide a roadmap for finding blue oceans, the blue ocean strategy doesn't just stop there.
Okay.
They actually give you some very specific tools to help navigate those waters.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so one of the most visually compelling tools they introduce is the strategy canvas.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Is that where you map out the competitive landscape?
Exactly. It helps you see where the competition is clustered, what factors they're investing in, and where the potential gaps are.
So it's a way to visualize those opportunities to break away from the pack.
Exactly.
I like it.
We'll dive more into that and some of the other tools in the next part of our conversation.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned.
Okay, so let's talk more about this strategy canvas.
Yeah, so imagine a grid where one axis represents the key competing factors in your industry. Things like price, features, service, whatever, really makes a difference to your customers.
Okay.
The other axis represents the level of investment or emphasis that each company puts on those factors.
Okay.
So you basically plot each company's offering on this grid, and it creates this visual profile of their strategy.
I see.
It's called their value curve.
Okay.
And that's where the insights really start to emerge.
So you can actually see where the competition is clustered,
Exactly.
where they're over-investing,
Right.
and where they might be missing opportunities.
The book gives this great example of a company called EFS.
Uh-huh.
They were really struggling to differentiate themselves
Okay.
in this very crowded market.
Right.
And when they drew their strategy canvas, their value curve was almost identical to all their competitors.
No wonder they were blending in.
Yeah, so it was like a wake-up call.
Right.
They really saw that they needed to break away from the pack.
Create a value curve that stood out.
Exactly.
And that kind of brings us to that 4 actions framework,
Yeah.
which is another great tool from the book
It is.
that provides a very structured approach to actually reshaping that value curve.
Right. It comes down to 4 key actions.
Eliminate, reduce, raise, and create.
Exactly.
Love it.
Eliminate factors that the industry takes for granted, but don't really add value.
Yeah, get rid of the fluff.
Reduce factors that are over-invested in.
Right.
Raise factors that deserve more emphasis, and then create entirely new factors that the industry hasn't even considered.
That's where the magic happens.
That's where the blue ocean is.
I love this framework because it really forces you to make some tough choices.
It does.
You have to prioritize what truly matters.
What could be left behind?
The example that they give in the book about yellowtail wine
Oh, yeah.
is a perfect illustration.
Such a great example.
They completely disrupted the traditional wine industry by challenging those unspoken rules.
Yeah, they eliminated all the jargon and complexity.
Reduced the emphasis on tannins and oak.
Raised the level of fruitiness and ease of drinking.
Yes.
Created this fun, approachable brand personality.
And they created a wine for people who didn't even consider themselves wine drinkers,
Yes.
which is genius.
And that's what made them so successful.
That's right. They tapped into a whole new market.
That blue ocean.
So the 4 actions framework is all about challenging that status quo
It is.
and creating a value proposition that truly stands apart.
Another tool I wanted to touch on is the buyer utility map.
Okay.
This one helps you understand how your offering actually delivers value to your customers.
Uh-huh.
It's about identifying and eliminating those pain points they experience throughout their journey.
Because it's not just about creating value, you have to deliver it effectively.
Right. And the book uses the example of Philips CDI.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
They tried to do too much,
It did.
offering all these different functions without addressing those key blocks to buyer utility.
It was a good idea in theory,
It was.
but the execution,
Yeah, the interface was clunky. The software wasn't compelling.
the whole experience was just frustrating.
It's a cautionary tale about focusing on that user experience
Absolutely.
and making sure that your innovation actually solves a problem
And delivers value.
and delivers value.
For sure.
And then there's this idea of the price corridor of the mass.
Okay, tell me about that one.
This tool helps you find that sweet spot in terms of pricing your offering.
I like it.
It's about attracting a large customer base while ensuring that you're still profitable.
Right.
So you need to understand the price and volume of those alternative products and services
Yeah.
that your target customers might consider.
So, like, what else are they spending their money on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Companies like IKEA and Southwest Airlines,
Great examples.
they've really mastered this.
They have.
They offer high value at affordable prices.
It's a winning formula.
They appeal to this broad market without sacrificing profitability.
And they do it by carefully managing their costs,
Yeah.
being innovative with their processes.
And often challenging those traditional industry models.
Yeah.
So all these tools, the strategy canvas, the 4 actions framework, the buyer utility map, the price corridor of the mass,
That's quite a toolkit.
they provide this practical roadmap for putting blue ocean strategy into action.
Love it. But there's one more piece of the puzzle
There is
that we haven't talked about yet, and that's the people.
the human element.
Because it's one thing to develop a brilliant strategy, but it's quite another to execute it within an organization.
Right, because even the best strategy can hit a wall if you don't address those organizational hurdles that inevitably come up.
It's true, and the book actually identifies 4 major hurdles
Right.
that can derail even the most well-intentioned plans.
We've talked about the what and the how of blue ocean strategy, identifying those untapped opportunities and using the tools to shape your value proposition.
But then there's that question of getting everyone on board.
Because people can be resistant to change.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in organizations that have been doing things a certain way for a long time.
Right, where things are kind of ingrained.
Oh,
So the book really dives into these organizational hurdles,
yeah.
and they highlight 4 key areas that leaders need to address.
They talk about cognitive hurdles,
Right.
resource hurdles, motivational hurdles,
And of course,
political hurdles.
the political hurdle.
Always.
So let's break those down a little bit.
Okay.
Cognitive hurdles, that's about getting people to see the need for change in the first place.
Right. It's about challenging those assumptions.
Right.
About how things should be done.
It's about shifting mindsets,
Yes.
helping people visualize a different future.
A blue ocean future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then there are those resource hurdles.
Yeah, the classic, we don't have the budget for that.
Right, or we're already stretched too thin.
Right.
Limited resources can certainly make implementing a new strategy a challenge.
For sure. But the book encourages us to think creatively about resource allocation.
Oh.
It's not always about getting more. It's about using what you have more effectively.
And that kind of ties into the motivational hurdles as well, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. It's about inspiring your team to embrace the new strategy, getting them excited about the possibilities, making them feel like they're a part of something bigger.
Because if people aren't motivated, they're not going to buy in.
Right.
No matter how brilliant the strategy is.
And then, of course, there are the political hurdles.
Ah, yes, the politics.
That's about navigating the internal politics of an organization.
Mhm.
The resistance that you might get from people who feel threatened by change or those who just prefer the status quo.
Right, and that can be really tricky to navigate.
It can, but the book actually gives some really good strategies for overcoming that.
Okay.
One of the concepts they talk about is this idea of tipping point leadership.
Interesting.
It's about focusing on those key influencers,
Yeah.
the people in your organization who have a disproportionate impact.
The ones who can really move the needle.
Exactly. And if you can get those people on board,
Mm-hmm.
their enthusiasm, their support can create this ripple effect
I see.
and influence others and kind of shift the whole organizational culture.
Interesting. So it's about finding those leverage points.
Yeah, the book tells this great story about William Bratton, the former NYPD commissioner.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him.
He faced massive resistance when he came in and tried to implement these reforms.
I can imagine.
Crime was rampant. Morale was low. The department was so bureaucratic.
Wow, that's a tough situation to walk into.
It was, but Bratton focused on a few key areas where he felt he could have the biggest impact.
Okay.
He made it a priority for officers to be visible out on the streets,
Mm-hmm.
cracking down on these really minor offenses like fare evasion and graffiti.
Interesting.
It might seem counterintuitive, but Bratton believed that addressing those smaller issues would send a message that even minor infractions weren't going to be tolerated.
So it was about setting a tone.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it worked. The visible presence of officers, the focus on maintaining order, had this cascading effect,
Uh-huh.
leading to this significant reduction in crime and a shift in the entire culture of the NYPD.
Wow, that's a powerful example of how targeting the right livers can really create that tipping point.
Within an organization,
Exactly.
Blue Ocean Strategy provides a whole toolkit for overcoming these hurdles, everything from breaking down complex challenges into smaller, more manageable pieces, to identifying those hotspots where quick wins can really generate momentum and inspire further action.
So it's about being strategic, being adaptable.
And being a leader
Yes.
who can really inspire and motivate others to embrace that new vision.
For sure.
So for all of you listening out there, I encourage you to think about the red ocean situations you might be facing in your own work or your own life.
Yeah. What are those areas where you feel stuck in that cycle of competition?
Where are the boundaries that you could potentially challenge or redefine?
What opportunities might be hidden in plain sight, just waiting for you to apply these principles of Blue Ocean Strategy?
And unlock your own uncontested market space.
Exactly.
This has been a fascinating exploration of a really influential book.
It has.
Hopefully you've gained some valuable insights and are inspired to chart your own course towards those blue oceans of opportunity.
I know I have.
Remember, it's all about perspective innovation.
And the courage to break free from those constraints of conventional thinking.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep challenging assumptions, and keep seeking those blue oceans in every aspect of your life.